Hey guys, we are live. Thank you all for checking in. Really appreciate it. We are heading back to the Gamma Quadrant for another episode of our sci-fi series. This one is going to be the Pranac Pursuit. Probably a multi-part series, but this is going to be episode 1 of this particular mini campaign. So, glad you guys are all here. Super excited to have you. Think you're gonna have a great time. This one should be action-packed, so looking forward to it. And without any further ado, I'm gonna kick it over to the crew, and here they are. Hello, hello crew. How are you guys today?
Awesome.
Good. Excellent.
All right. So where we left off, you guys had discovered that that relic, the bio mechanical organism that you found at the mining camp. You managed to kill it incredibly fast, which is one of the things about Savage Worlds that it makes it fun, right? So a couple of well placed dice rolls, and you guys found yourself on the victorious end of that combat. So got back to Luna Bravo Station, which is kind of your home base, and you guys basically gave your debrief, and you've been at Luna Bravo for a couple of weeks. But during that time period, your trusty android or your trusty robotic companion had a bit of an issue. So he, hey Saria, welcome to the stream. Really appreciate it. Glad to have you. If this goes for anybody, if you're joining us for the first time, please go ahead and hit that green or hit that heart up top. Follow, subscribe if you want to do that. But we really appreciate it. Anyway, so your trusty companion, Beatbox 9000, had a malfunction. Is going to be down for a couple of weeks. So basically, we've got, just the four of you guys. The issue was so extensive that you're going to have to leave him at Luna Bravo. And that they're potentially going to send him back out to meet you here in a couple of weeks. So, but your commander thinks that this is something you guys can handle, and so as a result, sends you a note that Captain Malik, JT, you receive that asks that you muster up. So. Actually, before we go any further, why don't we just, for the purpose of the audience, why don't we go ahead and do some quick introductions. So I'll start with, that way, JT, Captain Malik, why don't you go ahead and tell the audience about your character?
All right, well, I am piloting Captain Malik, who is not the pilot, but he is a smooth-talking, basically the officer, captain of this crew, and, I basically just try to talk my way around things and basically try to talk my way into advantageous situations for my crew. So, and my crew hasn't let me down yet. So,
awesome, awesome. And so down there, David, playing Rybax. Why don't you go ahead and introduce Rybax?
So. Rybax is a Yeti. He's got a little bit of a past that we're still discovering, but he's the cook and the logistics officer, loyal to the captain, and expects the captain to stand behind him, literally.
Yes, he does. So that way, we have Greg. Greg's playing Kadura. Greg, can you go ahead and tell the audience about Kadura?
Sure. Kadura is a resident scientist, computer whiz, astronavigation specialist, and pilot. He's a four-armed alien called I can't remember off the top of my head. It's the race called a Kalian. He's still fiercely loyal to his companions, even though he'd like to pretend that he's more of a scientist than a companion. Awesome. And last, certainly not least, down there, our buddy T Prime. T Prime, go ahead and tell everybody about your character.
Basically, I act as the security officer. I'm a sharpshooter and martial arts expert, and I'm basically keeping the crew. I'm working with the crew basically to see their safety, and along with jump cord guidelines are followed to the letter.
Awesome. So as I mentioned, you guys receive a note from a Commander Janet, which is an interesting name considering it's a female's name, but a Commander Janet, and that's it. That Commander Janet is in fact a male, and he has been serving with Jump Corp for probably about the last 35 years. But he is the executive officer of Luna Bravo Station. And he requests your presence in his quarters for a briefing. And so is there anything that you guys feel like you would need to do before you go to the briefing?
Get a good night's rest, eat a hearty breakfast.
Okay.
You know.
Sure. Okay, so if there isn't anything, if you guys don't have anything in particular that you need to do, we can go ahead and move to the meeting, and I can walk you guys through, the information you receive.
Are we in dormitories or?
Yeah. So when you're at Luna Bravo, you guys have, they're not dormitories per se. It's you guys each have your own staterooms, right? And they're kind of hot racks is what it's called. So basically, there's a night person, which is you guys typically when you're off shift, and then there's a day person who sleeps in the room while you're not there, right? And it's because they just don't have a ton of space, right? Crews come in, crews leave, so you basically hot rack it is what it's called. So and then kind of around the 8 p.m. time frame, there's a cleaning crew, and then there's another cleaning crew that comes in at about the 8 a.m. time frame. Anyway, so you guys arrive at the stateroom of Captain Janet, and there's adjacent to the stateroom is a small reception desk, and that reception desk, sitting at the reception desk is a Kalian female. And with two of her arms, she is frantically, typing and composing a memo. With the other two of her arms, she is making coffee. And so she's very efficient. She looks up at you and she says, "Oh, you're here. Fantastic. The captain is waiting for you. Just a bit of advice, though. He's a little salty today. So just be easy, please. Oh, and if one of you wouldn't mind being a dear, please bring this cup of coffee to him."
Absolutely. Grab the coffee.
All right. And so she says,
Do you know why he's salty?
No, when I try to ask, he just shooed me away. So I when he has days like this, I just leave him to it. So she says, right this way," as she points to the door, and she says, "It's open. You can feel free to proceed in."
All right. By chance, would I have a flask of whiskey on me?
We're going to be sent out to the far end of the quadrant.
You gotta be prepared. I got drunk before we started this.
So I would say that.
I'm sure Kadora has some, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that between the group of you, somebody's got some spirits. Maybe not whiskey per se, but some spirits.
Okay.
Sure. So yes, you have some.
Just curious. All right, we go in.
Okay. Anyway, so you open the door. And as you open the door and walk in, you hear he's currently on a communicator, and the communicator, you hear another person's voice, and it's somewhat indistinct. They seem to be finishing their sentence as you're walking in, and he says, "Damn it! How many times have I told you that we can't send these damn survey teams out there to unexplored regions without an escort? And now I've got to send somebody else. This is bullshit. This is your problem, and you're going to fix it." And you hear, so on the other end, now you hear the response. And the response is Barrister Holloway, which you remember from your first assignment, was the one who sent you to to Planet Tomb, right? And he says, in response, he says, "Yes, sir. Of course, sir. I have just the team, a real crack squad, and I'll. As a matter of fact, they should be there right now." And he looks up at you guys and he goes, "Are you serious, Holiday?" And he says, "Oh yes, no. This is the crew that we sent to Tomb. The one who met the collector ship and the and the white hole. He's like, these are them. He says, yeah, yes, sir, yes. I'm sure you'll find them absolutely meeting with your expectations. He says, but if you don't mind, sir, I must get back to it. Very important business. And you hear him kind of, oh, you're breaking up. And the communique goes out. And so Captain Janet looks at you and he says, so I understand that you're the crew. I mean, you heard him, right? Is what he's saying legitimate? Is this something that can I trust you? I guess is what I need to ask.
I'd be offended if I had any self-esteem.
Best of the best, sir. I salute with all 4 arms.
I pour the coffee at least into 2 cups, and I look to my crew to see if they would like some coffee as well.
Ryback wants coffee.
Yes.
Okay. So I pour coffee for T-Prop. Nope. Okay. So I pour 4 cups of coffee, and I go to kind of move it to him, and I look to Kadora and back to the commander and ask him if he would like for us to spice up a bit.
Well, I
And
gotta
I'll
say,
my coffee over to Kadora for
at least this is a good start. I mean, you bring coffee. That's you must have had a chat with Kathy out there. She probably told you I'm a bit of a coffee fan. Yeah. Well, take a seat, please.
All right.
Okay.
And he motions you guys to a series of chairs, kind of flanking his. So there's two recliner, or not recliners, but 2 like counseling chairs, one on or 2 on each side. So 2 on this side, 2 on the other side, and he pulls up a screen and he turns the display around to show you. And written on the screen is it's a star chart of the Pranac system, right? And he says, a little over 2 months ago, Jump Corp ordered the scout ship Distant Light to make a preliminary survey of the unexplored Pranac system. The starship is now 2 months overdue. Your team is to go to Pranac, locate the Distant Light and its crew, and bring them to the nearest Jump Corp station. We expect a report in no more than 2 weeks. Says a couple of other things. We're not exactly sure what happened here. Though I know the captain and the first mate of the Distant Light are stand-up individuals. They've got a pair of droids that help them out. It's a 4-person crew. Captain Stephen Wu and First Mate Janet James. They're good people. But their bots, I'm not too sure. So we've got one bot that they refer to as Grade 8. It's an E847 model. And then they've also got an engineering bot, an S331.
SG31?
S331. S331, yeah. Their last transmission mentioned something about a malfunction, and then they went radio silent. Long-range sensors have them orbiting Pranac 4. Pranac 4 and Pranac 6 are the 2 planets in the system that we believe could be habitable. However, we've not sent first contact crews. So, first contact protocol will apply if you encounter the indigenous, right? Which means no killing them. Are we clear?
I just kind of give a sideways glance to Ghidorah. Perfectly clear.
So,
we're all pacifists here.
Well, if the fit hits the shan, my expectations are that you guys will take care of what needs to get taken care of. But, do whatever you can to avoid killing the indigenous. It looks really bad on my report.
What if they try to kill us first?
Well, you're entitled to defend yourself, but you better be damn sure, because otherwise you'll be standing tall in front of the man and explaining why you murdered some indigenous with rocks and slings using blaster weapons.
Understood.
And
So-
will we have an escort? I just heard you mentioning that survey crews need
I
to
think
have
we're
escorts.
meant to be the escort.
Yeah, so here's how it's going to go down. I'm going to have I'm going to have a Class B freighter in the area in about 3 days' time. All right, but I'm concerned that there may have been, that there may be a problem that needs immediate attention. They can't get there any sooner. All right, I've got them doing something over on Ares 4, but they should be able to be there in a couple of days. So I need you guys to get there, figure out what the hell's going on, and report back.
How long is the trip for us?
So the beacon in Pranac is active, so you guys will be able to get there, but you're going to have to STL to Pranac 4, so that should probably take you about, 4 hours.
Okay.
So once you're in Pranac, then you'll be able to make it to Pranac 4, in a few hours.
Cool.
Well, I'd
So-
love nothing more than just putting up beacons all day. But seeing how we're kind of being this hybrid escort, exploratory crew, do you think maybe we could outfit our ship with a little more hardware?
That's a fair point.
I mean, I'd hate for the freighter to have something happen because we wouldn't be able to fulfill our escort duties.
And we need to fill those hard points.
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and I'll get you a scout. I'll get you a Starshot class scout ship. I've got one that's available. Go down to the chief. Go down to the chief in the hangar bay, and and tell him to give you access to the Luna Sea.
All right.
And so he hands you almost looks like a modern day credit card, but it's basically
Multi-pass.
Yeah, kind of. It's a drive. It's a disc, and it's basically got your orders. And when you go down there and you meet with the quartermaster down in the hangar bay, he'll make the provisions, and then he'll get a crew to move over your personal effects from your previous vessel. So I'll go ahead and share that other ship with you here in a second.
Since I hear about these rogue robots, I might want to buy like an EMP grenade or something like that. Is there an outfitter where I can buy something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm gonna spend a little cash on those then.
All right. So, anybody else have anything? He says. He says to you. He says, "All right, now get going. Stop down at requisitions or hit up the dispensary for anything you need on your way out, within reason. Nothing crazy. All right, and head down to the bay,
Oh, we would never.
and we'll get you fitted up."
Pacifist, as I'm like piling grenades onto my belt. Telling you,
EMP grenades. I mean,
they're
that's
stun
kind of
grenades
exactly.
as well, and some frag grenades and a grenade launcher.
Flamethrower. All right. Yeah, we'll head out.
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure that I grab some stuff out of the old ship that I don't want other people.
May I get an energy skin for the ride? If these guys are using slings and and rocks and possibly low tech. Is that possible?
You're trying to get is that an energy skin, you said?
Energy skin. Cost 500, I believe. Or is they all out of them?
Oh, damn. Wow.
Is that a steel helmet? Huh, a flak jacket works.
Yeah, energy skin wouldn't be available on Luna Bravo Station. It's reserved for military.
Okay.
So I would say, I mean, you could do body armor, which I think you may already have.
I think I do. I'm good.
I'm
I'm set.
I think I'm gonna
Okay.
get myself some body armor.
I'm just going to make sure my ammunition is charged, and obviously I'll be ready to go. And actually, you know what? I'm going to take something very simple, sir. I'm looking for maybe a nightstick or a weapon to subdue, not necessarily kill. A non-lethal weapon, because they are ordering us to use non-lethal force. And I figure if we have to defend ourselves, at least we'll give a non-lethal response.
Grenades.
Possibly. So I'm going to just take a look at, see if there's anything in the basic inventory that seems to be a non-lethal, small-grade object. So
I've shared with you the Luna C. So you guys should have. Actually, I gave it to Captain Malik, so Malik it should show up in your vehicle inventory. And then I shared with you guys the deck plan of the Distant Light, which is the same as the Luna C. It's a Starshot class. It's a Starshot class scout ship, and it is equipped with weapons, and it is much nicer than the freighter that you have been operating with previously.
sure. Just an FYI there, GM. I've decided to take a billy club baton, and it's an strength plus D4.
Sure.
As for retaliation if we have to defend ourselves with a non-lethal event. Okay.
Sure.
You guys might want to grab some of these just in case. And you, Kadora, should take 4 at least.
Stun grenades?
And a billy club.
And a billy club, yeah.
All right. So, anything else you guys need?
No.
I think I'm okay.
Yep.
Ryback's is good.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. All right. So I'm sharing with you. Let me move over to the Fantasy Grounds screen here, so I can share some snazzy pictures with the audience as well.
Nice.
Okay, so you guys get situated aboard the Distant Light, and prepare to pull away from Luna Bravo. Okay, so as you get situated in Luna Bravo, you guys notice that, as you get situated on the Luna C, I'm hearing a lot of background noise from somebody on.
I think it's me. Give me a second.
Sure. So you guys notice again. This is just a a very nice scout ship, much more roomy, much more well upholstered, and overall just a very sharp looking vessel. So you guys open up the hatch, step in. And you're greeted with just a pristine scene, right? The display is, there's not a spot of dust, or mess to be seen anywhere. It's been well maintained. And you guys hear a message come over the console, and it says, Luna C, you are cleared for departure. Please taxi to the departure station as soon as you're ready to depart.
Copy.
Floor it.
Clear for departure.
All right, I'll taxi this thing around. Didn't know that it could taxi, but that's okay. I like it. Indeed. Beep, beep, beep.
Okay, so you guys pull away, and you begin to kind of taxi, and there's a couple other ships making their way to the departure station, and you kind of line up, and as you wait your turn, you see one after another, they kind of align and jump off into FTL, and ultimately, your turn comes, and your drive begins to spin up, and you hear the reactor begin to build pressure. And the thing that kind of catches you is that the previous ship that you had was a bit clunky, right? It would take a few minutes for the drive to spool up. It would, there were a couple of times where you'd have to prime the warp core before you'd be able to actually take off. This thing is just super smooth, right? And it takes you about 26 minutes total as you kind of come back out of warp and resume kind of impulse level speed, and as you do, you see kind of the Pranac system kind of pop into display. So your heads up computer, the onboard computer basically says, "We have arrived at the Pranac system."
All right, gentlemen.
All right.
STL to Pranac 4.
Yeah, I say we look for the ship first. I mean, could it be still in orbit?
Yeah, so
can we do a sensor sweep of the area?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can run. You run a scan, and basically, you now that you're in the system, you pick up that that the distant light is in a decaying orbit around Pranac 4. But you're going to have to get closer to perform a more thorough scan.
I thought we were in the distant light.
No. You guys are in the Luna C, which is your new ship.
You're right.
So you guys are approaching the distant light, but it's going to take. I mean, with your longer range scanners, you're still about 4 hours away from it. Via STL drive, right? So you pick up the energy signature of the distant light at this point, but you're not going to be able to really get much more detail until you get closer.
Captain, you want to get closer?
Indeed.
Okay, so so along the way, as you begin to get closer, a signal starts to come through, and it appears to be a kind of universal distress signal, and it's coming from the distant light. There's a partial message attached to it, and it's available to listen if you'd like to listen to it.
Please. Or,
Absolutely.
you know. Ken.
Yep.
So the message says, "This is Captain Stefan Wu of the Distant Light. We are abandoning ship. We've experienced some technical difficulties, and we're taking the escape." And with that, the signal cuts out.
Okay. Let's do a quick calculation on how far they would be in escape pods based on the timing of the original message.
So the original message puts it. It's hard to say, but you do know that that the ship's computer would have logged the event, and it would have logged the trajectory or the destination of the escape pods at the point of launch.
We can even do a visual scan and make sure the escape pods are actually gone.
Yep.
I don't particularly trust this.
Yep. Let's proceed,
Yeah.
but with caution.
Sure. Okay, so so just for the sake of time, right? You guys close the gap and you get into visual range of the distant light. The distant light appears to be in excellent shape, but it's dark. Aside from a bright flashing emergency beacon strobe at the tip of the ship's nose, it's also slowly tumbling toward the planet. It's on a decaying orbit, as I mentioned. Did you want to run more intrusive scans at this point?
Yes. How much longer does it have in this decaying orbit? Like, have we talked about in a few hours it's going to start burning up in the atmosphere, or?
So, no, not hours. It's probably got about a week before it fully decays and gets into the sub-atmosphere. And then at that point, it's going to start to burn up. So your scans come back, and basically, you can see that from your scans, there are a few systems appear to be offline. So basically the scans show that the distant light is largely shut down with only emergency systems running. There's no visible damage, and it looks as if life support and several like weapons, bunch of other systems are just offline altogether. So they do not respond at all to scans. Also, the distant lights AI is also offline, so it's operating basically in compromised state, basically just minimal systems. But it can't correct course because it looks like the STL drive is offline as well.
Is life support online or offline?
Life support is offline.
Can I get it online?
You might be able to. Not from here.
Ah.
All right. So,
Is it possible for these ships to
Doc?
for us to be able to couple with the other ship?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of ways that you guys know. I mean, based on your training, you can either dock with it. It only has the one kind of docking collar, right? And since you're in a very similar ship, it'll be a little bit easier to dock because they're basically the same docking collar. But additionally, or alternatively, I should say, there is also, you can also get kind of alongside it, but because it's on a decaying orbit, it'll put you in a compromised position, right? So in order to effectively dock with it, you've got to match its speed and direction, right? So it's a bit challenging, right? So you got to just get to the right speed and direction as it tumbles, right? Alternatively, what you could do is you could get close enough and then basically spacewalk to it.
How comfortable are you feeling, Kadora?
I have 4 arms to steady myself, Captain.
All right, let's get it done. And did we scan for any life forms? Were there any on board? I may have missed that.
I don't know. Did we scan for life forms? I can't remember.
Now that we've gotten closer.
It's part of the standard kind of scanning. You do not detect any signs of life. As a matter of fact, given the current state of the ship, it's unlikely that it would be able to maintain life. So,
Gotcha.
So anybody who would have been on board, would have had to have left when the life support system went offline.
So if just spitballing here, round table, doesn't like anyone is alive on board. So if we're docking for the purposes of to essentially keep the ship into some type of orbit as opposed to crashing into Earth, and to see if the escape pods see where they went.
I mean,
And that would be about it.
well, assuming the sensors are correct,
Right.
be a trick. I wanted to go up there and find some clues and see why they used the escape pods in the first place.
Yep.
Then there might be something. I might be able to access the ship's logs and see exactly where the escape pod went.
Yep. Accessing logs.
Yeah.
Fix the ship at least enough to maintain orbit. Yep.
Okay. So did you want to try to dock with it, or did you want to try to spacewalk?
I want to try to dock with it
confidence
first.
in my pilot.
Okay. So you guys know that these kinds of events can be somewhat stressful. So, when you're trying to perform a docking maneuver on a unmanned vessel in a tumbling orbit, it's recommended that you kind of strap in and get into your respective seats, not sheets, but seats on the bridge.
And just for any safety, we should also don our spacesuits.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Doesn't sound like
Okay.
you're as confident in our pilot.
I am
Wear a
confident.
spacesuit
I'm
because
sure it'll
that's
be
exactly
fine.
how
I mean,
confident I am.
what's the worst that can happen? You guys collide, there's a huge explosion, and everybody dies, and we roll new characters.
Shit, not with me as the pilot, okay?
With my Astro, I don't even know. Let's see. I think I have some piloting skills here.
I do.
Oh, you do as well. So I got a
Minor,
6.
nothing, no.
I'm
not
a
me.
6.
All right. So
You
I have a
guys,
D6.
I'm backup pilot.
So with the D6 and piloting, as well as some type of navigation, can I assist Kador, maybe calling out relevant bearings and speeds and whatnot,
So,
closing distant rates, that kind of thing, to help him
Sure.
dock?
so I'll go ahead and give Kadora a +1 for your assist. All we're going for is a 4, right? And preferably not a critical failure. So
So many requirements.
I know. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and give me that piloting roll, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, strap in, boys.
Okay. All right. So it is successful. So you manage to dock, and it's a bit of a bumpy maneuver, right? So as you get there, the docking clamp extends the first time, and it kind of slides a little bit, but then ultimately it grabs on, and you manage to use your thrusters to kind of stabilize the orbit. You can't really maneuver it, significantly. where you could actually correct the orbit. You basically now you're in the same tumbling orbit. You'd have to get the engines online, because if you were to try to maneuver in this docked state, you would rip the dock right off. All right. So you're going to have to try to get on board, get the computer system back up to stabilize the orbit. Or just break free and let it go, right? I mean, that's always an option as well. But that's currently the state that you're in. So you are now kind of docked with the distant light.
Nothing but net, Captain.
Nailed it.
Shall we?
Yep.
T Prime, do you want some of the Kaloo's chicken liver I've prepared?
No, I just had some manakari, and I'm good.
There's plenty for the whole crew.
Why don't we freeze that in space for later?
He's looking up at the ceiling.
Okay, so what do you guys want to do?
Yep, we're gonna go to the other ship.
All right. Well, hold on, boys. We have protocol that we want to have to make sure it's safety. So, Captain, make sure you're standing behind Ryback's there.
Absolutely, Captain.
We are going to. What do we do? Do we have a hand scanner, anything like that?
I have a hand scanner.
All right,
Yeah,
because
so-
we're not sure if there's any type of life forms that may not be showing up on biosensors, and there is no life support on the ship, so we will need full life support wearing our space gear. Okay, and obviously looking at the schematics. So we have the schematics of the ship, and we're able to know where we need to go. Obviously, let's take a look at where we're going to come in and see. I think we should. We're going to need to go to the main engineering control boards, and that should be in section 19, I believe.
Sounds
Do
right.
you guys agree?
Sure.
Yes.
We should go to the mess hall too, Captain.
Ooh.
They might have crock pots and such.
And such.
Well, luckily, the airlock is real close. It's on the same deck. It'll be on the main deck. We'll come in on the port side, and I'm sorry, yeah, we'll be on the port side. We'll come in, and just a little bit to our right, we should find the main engineering control board system. That's probably something we should look into first, and maybe we can get the AI system online, and if so, then we can start bringing the ship back into control.
That's a good plan.
All right, so it's going to be a small, tight corridor, at least when we go into the docking bay. So we have to be careful about weapons that might do damage to hull and create any penetration. So let's be careful about and select your shots. Be careful of your targets and watch your corners. All right.
Take some
With
time
that-
to aim.
So you guys will be
Yeah.
coming in. You'll be coming in at area 12, which is where the docking tube is.
Okay.
So that's basically where you'll be entering.
Gotcha. And there's no life support, so we're gonna need to bring our own oxygen.
Our spacesuits, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the escape pod and the main engineering then is straight across on the other side of the ship, and we'll be able to hopefully stay on the deck till we can get further confirmation that the escape pod is still intact, which may not bode well if the crew is missing and the escape pod is still here. But anyway, and that'll give us an indication that something else may have taken place. Also, look for any damage or internal firing that might have taken place. We don't know what the reason was, but just keep your eyes open for any signs of maybe on boarding party. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Don't
the
forget.
galley is very close, Captain.
Yeah. Truly.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need our order of who's first, second in line?
Not just yet. I mean, I'm just trying to,
Sure.
yeah, no, it doesn't matter. Okay, so you guys, so the docking tube extends, and you stand at the airlock on your side. So there's an airlock on your side, there's a tube, and there's an airlock on the other side. Are you ready to proceed? You want to open the airlock on your side?
Yes.
Yep, I believe so. I can't think of anything else.
All right, so the airlock opens. You see the docking tube extended. It is intact. The atmosphere in the docking tube is pressurized. You guys proceed ahead.
Yeah, I would like to proceed ahead.
Okay, so the airlock closes behind you. You make your way across the docking tube, and you get to the airlock on the other side. There's a small control panel that's listed, or that sits just outside the airlock. It appears to be intact, and it appears to have power.
All right.
Kador, are you able to bypass this and get the door to open?
I may be able to.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a repair roll.
Okay.
So yeah, you managed to bypass the lockout, and the airlock, the panel turns from red to green, and then a small button appears that basically says open. So the lockout is bypassed.
Cool. Lock bypassed, Captain.
Sweet. Proceed forward.
All right. Maybe somebody else should.
Okay, so you want to open the airlock?
Yes.
All right. So as you open the airlock, the air that was in the docking tube it rushes in to the distant light, and the environment is completely silent. As you look, there's no lights. It's dark, and you can't see anything in front of you except for the occasional kind of flashing red or green light, but it is pitch black.
Do our helmets have any external lighting?
Yep, they do have lighting. You guys turned it on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you turn on your lights, you see, you notice basically right away that pretty much every kind of panel, control panel or like access panel has been opened. There are tools kind of floating. It looks as if somebody was in the process of repairing the ship and left in a hurry.
All right.
For what, I wonder?
I don't know. Need to get to those logs.
All right.
Okay.
May I proceed to a few paces ahead? Obviously, I see there's two openings that sort of, as the hallway widens, I'd like to at least get up to the point where we are. I'm at one of the openings. I'd like to look at section 11, which is, I believe, the samples and storage airlock. The reason I'm looking at this area first is any samples that may have been brought on board. that may be suspicious.
Okay.
So I'm going to be cautious when I approach that area.
Sure. It's actually empty. There are no samples on board.
Okay.
All right. What would because this is the same ship that we have, so we would know. Where's the closest, essentially, data terminal that we could hack into to get the logs and for the information that we already talked about getting?
Well, it's up to you. You either have to head to 19, which would be the control boards, or you have to head to the cockpit
Just one.
to see if
So just to the right.
either to the left
Possibly
or to the
in the captain's quarters is possible.
Yeah.
um
Well, I would say cockpit first.
Yeah, we'll say cockpit. Everybody can look at their own systems.
Yeah.
And see if they can see anything. So, yep. Let's head to the.
So you guys want to head
right.
to
Yep.
area 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Aye,
So
Captain.
so you make it to the cockpit, and same kind of situation here, whereas there are multiple panels open. The engineering console is kind of torn to pieces, and you could see kind of tools and stuff floating around. There's exposed wire, but whoever wants to give me a repair roll could get a better sense.
I can do that.
All right. So by running a local diagnostic, you can tell that there's nobody's clearly aboard. There appears to have been some kind of electrical issue. You think that you may be able to retrieve the ship's log from the main computer, and it appears to have been in the current state for about 4 days.
It's been like this for a few days, Captain, and I think we can definitely retrieve some good data from the cockpit, from the main computer logs.
All right, I'll move to do that.
All right. So the other thing you get is there appear to be signs of major electrical damage, burning out of vital components. Notably, the main power life support system, weapons, and defenses are unrepairable in their current state without parts. You wouldn't be able to repair them without suitable parts. The propulsion system is also shorted out, but you feel like it could be possible to repair it enough to stabilize the ship, but you wouldn't be able to land. You'd only be able to get kind of low impulse power, so you'd have a real challenge doing anything but just correcting the orbit.
Yep,
As long as
that
we
would be
can
the only goal here.
As long as we can correct the orbit, we can have more advanced repairs come in afterwards with the correct parts.
Yeah. Now the rest of you guys are you guys just hanging out up there while he's?
No, I'm actually keeping my eye on the ramp up and sort of keeping watch from the opposite direction while they're investigating the area of the bridge.
Okay. And so.
Pranac, is there any electrical damage in the galley?
The galley looks well stocked, Captain.
So
Although
Ryback's
funny spaghetti.
So Ryback's, you did notice on your way to the galley that the crew's quarters look kind of open, and it looks like most of their belongings are still on board, but perhaps maybe some personal items are missing. I.e., like empty coat hangers, or coat racks, and like, things like that. So you just happen to notice that on your way back from the galley.
Captain, there is some material missing from the crew's quarters.
Oh, okay.
And the escape pod is definitely missing.
All right. And so, yeah, I want to move to extract the data from the main terminal.
Sure. Go ahead and give me another repair roll. This time at a -1 because of the state of the panel.
You can do it.
I'm looking at someone else that can make repairs.
Yeah,
You can do it, Kadura.
I gotcha.
Oh.
You know
You
it.
cannot do it, Kadura.
Okay, so yeah, it's in bad shape. So you think that maybe if there was somebody else who had repair, who had the repair skill helping you out.
If you would like.
Yeah, or you could Benny.
I'd welcome it. Oh, I'll Benny it too, yeah. Oh, there you go. Shoot.
By accident, I jam it together and hit spark wires.
Why not?
Fix that.
Because it all comes online.
So the way I see this playing out is Kadura the engineer is in there and he's just like, I can't make anything of this. It's spaghetti, and Rybax is like, I love spaghetti, and he dives in with 2 hands.
They're going to call them sparks.
And inadvertently connects 2 wires, and the computer kind of glows to life, right? And the ship's log is just displayed right there, and he's like, I thought you said there was spaghetti.
He's like time
Like, it's like, no, wait, that shouldn't have worked. The alpha, with the oh.
We'll just translate all his work towards food.
That was an unskilled -3.
Well done. That wild dice, man.
So so the ship's log basically tells you that let's see. The ship's log, there are video and text entries in the ship's log detailing failing systems over the last 2 days before the failure. So basically, it's been in its current state for 4 days. 2 days before that, they started experiencing the electrical failures. Each system failed one at a time as a weird power surge jumped from one to another. The lights flashed while the doors and systems spontaneously activated and deactivated. The crew was unable to determine the reason for the surges. Once it hit the main power system, it set off a chain reaction of damage. The crew was forced to abandon ship when life support was compromised, and they left details as to their intended landing point on the planet. So there's a small map which details where they piloted the escape pod to.
All right. I would like to send Tidarian Prime, T Prime, go back to our ship and make sure all electrical systems are isolated from this ship, and like ASAP.
That's a good call.
ASAP.
And then we will basically.
What skill would I
finish it.
need for that?
Well, so in the current situation with just the docking bridge extended, there is no electrical cross connection between this ship and yours.
Oh, perfect.
But once you if you do restore power to the distant light, at that point, you would be able to, via RF, communicate with the distant light, and so with that, theoretically something could get back and forth. But does anybody have
Is the AI name the same? Did we carry the AI forward?
Mother?
We did.
That's
Okay.
up to you guys.
Yeah, we did.
Or did we upgrade AIs?
We
Well,
just renamed it though.
Yeah, the AI is it is an upgraded version, but you can call it whatever you want.
Is this Sister? Maybe we'll call this one Sister.
On the distant light or on yours?
On ours.
Well, this one's better. What about Grandmother?
Well, I'm okay with Grandmother.
Sounds like it needs an update.
Sounds grand.
Okay.
This one makes us fresh baked cookies when we get back from a day of battle. Oh, it's so good to see you, dearies, again.
All right.
Can we go to check on the over by the escape pod and see if there's the life support suits are there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to proceed down to area 16 and 17, which is obviously where those are located.
Sure. And so it is clear that, the spacesuits that are destined for the crew and the life pod are missing. With them, also the emergency medical kit and the emergency rations. Those are all missing as well.
Okay.
What's the fuel reserve again?
What do you mean?
How much has been used?
On this ship?
Yes.
I mean, it would have enough to make... Well, so it depends, right? So STL travel uses one fuel source, and FTL travel uses a different fuel source. Mm-hmm. The ship has enough FTL fuel to make 2 jumps, and it has enough STL fuel to travel for about 3 days.
So nothing strange about the fuel usage.
No, I mean it would make sense, given its mission, that it would have the fuel that it has.
All right. Well, yeah. So we just we kind of they bailed out. We know where they're going. So let's try to get this thing to sustain orbit, get back to our ship, and go try to find some survivors, figure out what happened.
Okay, so I'll need a repair roll. Now I can also, somebody else can assist. If they have the repair skill. If not, then it'll be at a -1.
I want to taunt the electronics. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I have no repair.
So if he helps out with the repair...
Rybax is great at it, I heard.
I can't make no heads or tails of this, Captain.
Spaghetti.
There's no spaghetti in this terminal.
It does actually appear to be better code.
Kadula!
All right, so so you managed to get the sub-impulse systems online, and the ship would be capable of correcting its orbit. However, with you currently docked to it, it would not be able to do that. So you'd have to kind of go back to the Luna Sea, retract the docking bay, back off a bit, and then trigger remotely via RF the orbit stabilization commands.
All right, and
what I think we should do is make it again as dark as possible. Maybe, hey, turn off the life support systems again, and just have the
life support's still off. Life support's still up. Yeah, okay. You guys. The only
lights off.
Yeah, there are no lights on except for your helmet lights.
So it just corrects itself and then proceeds floating through space as dead as it was before.
For like a salvage crew.
Yeah. Or for somebody to actually come and repair so they can land it safely.
Yeah, we preserved the ship for Jump Corps to pick up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe they give us a bonus, Captain.
That's right. We'll put it on our OPR.
Actually, I believe save space salvage rights. This is worth quite a lot.
Finders keepers. Actually, we should. Should we look around and see if there's anything of value? We can be like, I don't know, this is not there.
They must have taken it when they abandoned it. Oh, it's weird.
Captain, is there anywhere here?
What's the range of our RF signal that we could trigger the repair? or the correction rather? Like, can we go
Um,
land and?
Yeah, I mean, you could, you could do it from a safe distance. So, so let's say about 15,000 yards.
Okay.
You'd be able to trigger, a subspace RF signal from your ship to, to the distant light.
Okay.
You would have to leave a receiver though, so I mean, it's not an uncommon thing, but basically you would just configure a receiver on the distant light to receive a specific encrypted signal that you would send.
Okay.
I need a quick second. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Yeah, we're gonna do that then.
Okay, so you guys head back to the Luna Sea, back through the airlock.
Yep.
And you guys get back on board the Luna Sea, and your I assume you retract the docking tube?
I forgot.
Yeah. Whoops. So, like, actually, interestingly enough, T Prime's background is kind of what the docking tube entrance looks like, more or less, right? So, so if you see it, yeah. So basically, yeah, you retract the docking tube, you pull back about 12, 15,000 yards off the distant light. And did you want to send the signal?
Yes, for the explosives that I rigged up to all blow. Lovely fireworks.
Dang it, that's another report I got to alter.
All right, so you send the signal.
Unavoidable circumstances.
You send the signal, and you see the sub-impulse drive kick on, and the ship kind of lurches for a moment and begins to stabilize, and it climbs to a high orbit that is no longer decaying.
Cool.
Nice.
So right now,
Stable orbit.
you and the distant light are in high orbit over Pranac 4. So the let's see, and you guys, let's see, you guys can see that Pranac 4 is it appears to be a kind of wooded, it's a green, lush green planet with many mountains and hills. There are large kind of gullies that are formed out of rock, and there is very little water, but there is water. It looks like at some point the planet went through some kind of drastic climate change, and the majority of the water either boiled off or otherwise receded, and so as a result there's very little water left. All right, so
Nora
yeah.
has his gas-powered hair dryer.
Okay, so what has been mapped of Pranac 4, there's a particular region which is where the escape pod landed, and it's called an area called the Rulwan, Rulwan, and there are a series of forests that surround it, but this is a more kind of desert type area with a lot of mountains and high peaks, but then there's kind of flat plains that line the area as well. And it's adjacent to an area which is referred to as the Kerwo Lake Sea. Actually, I can go ahead and share this with you. There we go. So,
Pretty.
so let me just go ahead and put that here so that our friends on the stream can see it as well.
Is it a coincidence that the crash site is like right in the center of that like desert area? Did the crash create that?
No, it didn't create it. That was...
Sorry for your lush forest that we're supposed to provide, like,
Look,
preserve
now-
indigenous life forms.
My grenades can't really hurt nature in the desert as much. Now, I'm not going to be destroying trees or getting shrapnel in the drinking water. All right?
Right.
I'm going to be turning the place to glass, and sand is just glass. Or glass is just sand.
I'm worried about worms.
If you're worried, you're not carrying enough grenades, my friend.
Did you eat some of Ryback's food?
No. But we may need to bring it as an extra weapon.
What was that quote from The Good Place? Molotov cocktails work, man. Every time I have a problem, I throw a Molotov cocktail, and bam, now I have a different problem.
So, so you guys, you guys think that you'd be able to set down the Luna Sea somewhere, just to the east of where it's listed there, crash site. You'd be able to set down the Luna Sea there in one of the lowland areas, and then make your way to, the crash site, the escape pod crash site, if you were looking to go there.
All right.
That sounds like a plan.
Indeed.
Is that what you guys wanted to do?
Yeah.
Seems like the
Is there any way for us to scan from orbit anything?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. You can absolutely scan.
Energy signals, life forms in that area, or any energy signals, communications.
Sure. You guys want to scan, I assume?
Yes.
Always.
Okay.
Notice rolls.
There are hundreds of thousands of life forms, of life signs, various different types. The most prevalent of the life forms appears to be an undocumented species that has not been encountered by Jump Corp previously. So there's no record. And then there are a bunch of other kind of small insectoids and then aquatic creatures.
So, Kadura, one of Kadura's hindrances is curious. He's going to be like, oh my god, Captain, we can make a scientific discovery. We have to go and see what this animal is. We have to, like, tugging at your sleeve or whatever, like, it's over here. We have to go check it out.
Well, I got it, but we got orders. We gotta find our possibly barely surviving coworkers, and then we might be able to look for the new and strange and probably deadly animal.
If I see one, I'm gonna go check it out immediately.
So you also do pick up the emergency beacon from the escape pod. It's transmitting at very low power, but it's detectable for your short range scanners.
I'm like looking in the trees and like the bushes and things like that.
Well, no. So I mean, are you landing? Because you haven't landed yet.
Yeah,
you were scanning first.
Sorry. We should land.
Gently land close to the crash site.
Okay, go ahead and give me a piloting roll for the landing. Let's see how effective that is.
Captain, would you want to help me out? I think it was a +1 last time.
Always.
Would that be a +1, bro?
Yes.
Alright. Here we go. Like a leaf on the wind.
So you set down the Luna Sea, and you find a nice kind of flat area. The ground is more rocky than you expected. There isn't really a whole lot of give when when the landing gear comes down. You kind of expect there to be a little bit of kind of give to the surface, but but as you land, it just kind of comes to a firm stop. And even though from orbit or with your scanners, it appeared to be kind of a sandy surface, almost desert-like, it turns out to be like kind of like a parched earth kind of surface, to where it's it's sand, but it's almost as if there was water and then it dried quickly and it left like kind of a cracked, scaly kind of surface to this area. The atmosphere is breathable, and so you do you would not need your suits, but it's up to you if you want to wear them.
We can change into body armor.
I still wear the spray suit. That's my body armor.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue with my body armor.
Okay. So you guys want to debark?
Yes, sir.
I think so. The armor is next to toughness and derived stats, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just checking.
Okay. So as the airlock opens, a warm breeze kind of comes over you, and there's a pretty decent wind. It's mild, it's not uncomfortable, but there's quite a bit of air movement here. And as you kind of look around in the distance, you see, the forested areas, and the trees are swaying back and forth as different gusts of wind come through. But otherwise, it's relatively quiet. As soon as you open up your handheld, the signal from the escape pod registers, and you see that it's about 5 miles to the west of where you landed.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna start making our way. Obviously, looking around, for brand new creatures.
Since
Threats.
we don't have our resident beatbox here, I'll lead the marching song. Peas, eating goober peas. Goodness, how delicious, eating goober peas. That's what we're singing the whole way. No, there's no other lyrics, no other verses.
Trying to get some sponsors.
Peas.
All right. Speaking of which, just real quick for everybody who's joining us, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. If you have not already done so, please be sure to hit that follow button. Means a lot to us. And the team is active in the chat. So questions, comments, answers, recommendations, hit up the chat. And we will correspond with you. So back to it. Well, most of us will. Maybe not Kadura. Anyway, so he should theoretically be the best at managing the chat, but
right,
whatever.
But I'm an alien, so I look down on humans.
Okay, so as you look, as you make your way, you get within visible distance, and you can see the escape pod landed in a vast dry plain dotted with rocky outcroppings and sparse vegetation. On approach, you can glimpse a village in the distance, tucked into a ring of decaying butts in the rocky outcropping sense. About 5 more miles past the escape pod.
Alien life form.
Yeah. Anyway, so
I'm gonna immediately run over to it.
So light from the village makes it stand out in the early to mid-evening. And the pod is about half buried into the top of a small, spindly rocky outcropping that stands about 130 feet above the ground. So you're going to need to climb up to get to it.
All right.
You. Oh, okay.
So does anybody have survival? If anybody has survival, you go ahead and give me a survival roll.
I do. Ryback says.
No.
This planet is too warm.
Benny.
Yeah, Benny.
Sure, I'll Benny it.
You have so many.
There's a reroll. Here we go. This planet is too warm.
It's
All
getting
right.
warmer by the minute.
There's
Sorry?
spaghetti up at the top. Bam, 32.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, right.
I'll do
them
one
there's
more.
food
I'll
up
do
there.
one more.
Maybe he likes variety. It's rigatoni this time.
All right, here
There
we
you
go.
go.
I love
So-
my rigatoni.
So as you look around, you kind of get the sense here, and you see that there appear to be kind of on the other side. There appear to be a series of ropes and crude ladders that lead up, and then there's like a winding path, and then more ladders, and then a winding path. But the ladders are a little different. The rungs on the ladders are about twice as far apart as a normal ladder.
Are we talking about like a Robinson Crusoe type village?
Kind of, yeah. We're not at the village yet, so we're where the crash site is, right? And
Right.
so there appears to be a kind of crude ladder and pathway that leads up to the top of where this pod landed. As if, before the pod landed there was something else there, and the pod crashed right into it.
Oh, okay, that's what I kind of thought was weird. All right.
Based on the length of these ladder gaps, I think these the creatures or beings that place them here probably have a large stride. It may be long or long-limbed. This may prove them to have a good reach or possibly be tall in nature.
So
Just my assessment, Captain.
Long limbs.
I'll,
Not multiple limbs, unfortunately, so it's not
we don't know
You
yet,
have to
but
say about
definitely.
long limbs.
not
Long
aliens,
sleeves.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. So we see this landscape. It looks.
Yeah, so what you can see by the image I just shared is, there are these like spiky kind of outcroppings, and then a kind of hilly countryside that looks like it's been carved, but it is kind of a rough, kind of desolate space. So if you wanted to try to make your way up, I will need some athletics rolls from everybody.
This is my kind of activity, Captain.
I see. You're very good at that.
I'm totally great with athletics. Come on, brave. Love it.
All right, I'm gonna Benny that roll.
Okay.
I'm going to stay behind you, Rybacks, down here on the solid ground.
So hold on a second, T Prime, before you roll. Did anybody want to? So T Prime, did you want to try to use the ladders or the ropes instead? I mean, you're going to have to a degree, but
I will,
based on
but
where
I
you're
just can't.
positioning.
Can you give me my Benny back, and I will just use the ladder.
No. I mean, you're going to need to use the Benny anyway. But I'm trying
Okay.
to see if anybody can give you a +1. So is there anybody else that would be able to help T Prime make it up? I think probably Rybax or Kadura. You've got a spare hand. All pun
I mean,
intended.
does any of our packs have like a basic rope?
Well, the thing about it though is that like there already is a rope, right? It's just that like number one, he got a bad roll. So number two, there already are ropes, but there are these like what look like wood, but they're actually made of like a dried sand or dried stone rungs that run between them, but they're really far. So what I was saying is, either Kadura or Rybax could help him to bridge the distance because it's a little bit too far.
So he gets a +1 if I give him a hand, right?
Yes.
Does that mean he gets +3 if I give him 3 hands?
No, it means you get a -3.
I'll hold Kadura by the legs.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm just on the ground going.
No, I'll help pull him up.
I'll help.
Yeah, it is a regular circus.
I've added a +1 and all.
His arms are
Ready?
like pencil thin. One of his other traits is frail. So you can see like there's no muscle mass on here at all. Like he's just like a pasty white nerd who's super skinny.
You okay?
Oh.
I mean, are you going to be able to pull me up, or am I going to snap your arms off?
You should have complete confidence in me.
I do. You've landed.
Otherwise, my arms are going to snap, and we're all going to die.
I need those arms. You need to make me a 4 olive martini.
All right.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes, that is true.
That's true.
I will. I've rolled the. I've added the +1, so I'm about to drop my next
Okay.
athletics check.
All right.
All right. And
All right.
so
yeah.
Made it somewhere.
So, Captain Malik, you're the last one to make your way up. I didn't see a roll from you for athletics.
Okay, I was gonna stay on the ground, but I.
Oh, you can stay on the ground if you want. That's
Yeah.
Do
fine.
not split the party, Captain.
How big is
It
this
was-
like pod? Like I'm assuming it's like a one room like.
The
Hold
pod
on.
will hold about 10 people in tight quarters. I mean, it's a good size.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, so you happen to make your way up as well, and so you get to it. And it's a bit of a hike, right? It takes a bit of effort to get up there. And when you get there, you notice that the pod is scorched, battered, and partially crumpled, and wedged into a crack on top of the rocky outcropping here. There are also clear remains of a campsite next to the pod, so it looks like there were in fact survivors, and they set up a campsite adjacent to the pod. It's kind of at an odd angle. Its nose is buried, and the side hatch points upward. To where, if you were to try to get into it, you'd have to climb up it and climb down into the hatch.
So we know that it's. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to investigate the shuttlecraft, sir? The escape pod.
Sure.
All right. I can get up on the top, you say, to the hatchway?
Yes.
Okay. Are there normal size ladders for this, since this is jump core approved?
There are hand rungs, and
Hand
you
rungs.
can make it up. So yeah. So go ahead and give me a athletics check with a +2.
+2. Thank you, sir. Oh, hold on. All right. Well, we're not getting that done. Let's try it again, Sam. Okay, got that. Athletics.
Yeah, you make it with no difficulty.
No
You
problem.
get to the hatch and it is closed, but it is not locked.
Okay.
And just real quick, the campsite. You notice that there's a small fire that was built. There are remnants of some rations, some things that were cooked. But other than that, it seems like you can make out two areas where maybe bedrolls were left. But everything else has been picked up and left. If somebody inspecting the campsite wants to give me a survival roll, I'll let you know if you can see anything else.
The only thing I can do is tell other people to survive.
So you can see, you see two. You see two sets of humanoid footprints, and then you see several other kind of three-toed footprints just around the perimeter of the campsite.
Captain, there are nebulous beings afoot.
What size are those footprints, Ryback?
Humanoid in size.
Those three-toed ones you're talking about?
Yes, I believe they are of humanoid standing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough to say exactly, but you know, they appear to be, you know.
Are they bigger than my feet? That's the key.
No, your feet are larger.
Yeah.
Rybacks, can you tell how far the gate is between the steps and possibly the depth to see if they're very weighty or heavy?
Can I, Meg?
Yeah, so you can tell that they are. The gravity here is going to potentially throw you a little bit. So this is a 0.8 world, which basically means that, you know, there's a little less gravity here than there is, let's say, on Earth, right? But
advantage, Captain.
There doesn't seem to be a tremendous amount of depth to the claws. It's enough to where you can make out like three distinct ping points and then kind of a, you know, like a circular space between them, almost as if they're like three like hands, like somebody was crawling on their hands, I guess, is kind of the best way I can explain it. All right, so
Yes,
so you make it to the top of the pod.
Escape pod.
Yeah, and you find like I said, the door is closed but not locked.
Okay.
The hatch.
Okay. I'm going to bang on the top of it with the butt of my flechette gun. 3 bangs. Dun, dun, dun.
You think you hear a voice respond from inside, but it's faint.
I said, Captain, I may hear a voice inside. I'm going to take a look, but just be careful. I believe someone's still inside the space escape pod.
Copy.
Okay. Be alert. And I'm going to...
Grenade first, T.
Grenade first.
Grenade first.
Grenade? No. I think they. This is one of our escape pods. Let's see if we. It might be some survivors from the ship. I'll be okay, Captain. If anything, does the door open outward? Slide?
It does. It opens outward, so it's a hatch. You know, so you it's basically got a circular, you know, wheel on it. You spin the wheel and you would lift it up.
Yeah, in the lift, I'm actually going to use it as a cover, so I'll be behind that as I lift up and they look in. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
All right. And with my flechette gun in hand, well, you know, in ready, but not necessarily pointing at them. I don't want to terrorize anyone. I do believe in the voice that I heard, responding to my 3, you know, knocks on the shell, that it is probably one of the survivors. Hopefully, in not in too bad rough shape. So, would you need me to roll for anything as I open up?
No, you can just open it.
Yep, I open the hutch and I peer in, try and see what I can see, and call down, "Jump core! Anyone?"
So as you open it, you know, the inside of the pod is pitch black, and light kind of streams in from the open hatch at an angle, and it kind of fills part of the pod with light, and you can see, you know, it's a disaster. I mean, you know, everything inside is tossed around. There's any of the seating has been kind of ripped up and flung aside. The panels, all the panels are smashed, and there's you hear a voice. It's kind of distant and faint, and you think it says, "Stuh, stuh."
Stuh.
That's all you hear.
Captain, sounds like someone's inside, but I'm not sure they're in good shape. It may need me to go in and look. Are you okay with that, Captain?
Let us get up there.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Let us get
Repeat?
up there.
Okay, you guys want to come up?
I'll come up.
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and give me anybody who's climbing up. Give me athletics rolls with a +2.
Athletics rolls +2.
Okay. Yeah, you all make it up there just fine.
Yay.
And you all kind of, when you get close to the hatch, you hear this same thing. It's like stuh, stuh, stuh.
That's like a voice, though, not mechanical.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a voice.
Okay.
I mean,
sir?
it may be mechanical, but it sounds like a voice.
Okay, sir. I am equipped. I do have in my inventory a flashlight.
Okay. So you want to shine your flashlight around?
Yeah, I want to, before actually proceeding in, I want to shine the flashlight to see if there's any other areas I can see that isn't quite with the angle of the light coming from the natural source.
Sure. Go ahead and give me a notice roll.
Let me get that out for you. Notice. I'd like to Benny that.
Sure.
T-Brown, before you do,
Yeah.
feel free to use one of my bennies, since I have extras.
How do I use his? Benny?
He's just going to use it, so he'll use a Benny like he just did, and then you go ahead and make the roll.
There's an edge for that, right?
It's worse. No,
the-
I don't have anything.
So let me tell you what you do see. As I mentioned, you see that the inside of the pod is just is just disheveled, right? It looks like somebody picked through it. That there's stuff kind of thrown around. But what you're having trouble seeing is kind of the light is coming in at an angle. And even with your flashlight, you're kind of leaning in and kind of poking around. But there's an area kind of towards the nose that is very difficult to see. It's kind of where the impact site was, and it was kind of crumpled, and a portion of the hull has been like pushed in, and there's an area there that's very difficult to make out.
Okay, I have a question regarding now. If I was to enter the hatch, how far down is it, or into that area, and how would I proceed? Is there a hatch handholds? How far down is it if I was to jump?
So I mean, given the state of the pod and the angle that it's at, there would only be like probably a 2-foot drop. So if you were to put your foot, put yourself in, holding on to the hatch, you could lower yourself down to kind of an area that sticks up, and you'd be able to climb down into the rest of the pod from there. But typically there's a ladder here, but the ladder is sheared off and it's kind of laying down to the side, but because of the way it hit, you'd be able to climb in relatively easily. How
about getting back out?
Same thing. I mean, once you got up there, you'd be able to jump up and grab the hatch and pull yourself out.
All right, Captain. If you want, which one of us would you like to do? I can go in and look if you want. Report.
Sure.
Okay. Ryback, protect the captain.
Always.
All right,
I'm
Fedora.
the captain, and I say, one of these days you're gonna send him in there, and he's gonna die.
Yeah.
It's good to be back here, isn't it, Captain?
Yep.
Fedora, be wary. If I shout out anything, just be alert. Okay.
Throw grenades.
I draw 2 billy clubs. I'm not.
Dang.
I heard my captain's orders from before.
Yes, sir. All right, I'm going to proceed down to the first point where I can land, or first that outcrop that you mentioned.
Sure. Yeah. So
I'd like to proceed into the shuttlecraft.
No problem.
To this.
So
escape pod.
when your feet make contact with kind of the area that you descend to, you now hear that voice a bit clearer, and it says, "Stop! Identify! This pod is under my protection. You will stop and do."
Sounds like the one of our droids.
And when you shine your light over there, you see kind of pinned under the crushed section of the escape pod is an E-847 droid, which, remembering back to the description you gave, was referred to as Great 8, who is one of the droids on this ship.
Correct. What was his primary function again? Do you recall?
It's a defensive droid, so it's
How wedged is he into this situation?
Actually, correction. He's an engineering repair robot. Sorry.
All right.
He's wedged in there pretty good. You think that it's going to take some effort to try to get him out.
Ryback effort? Okay. All right. I notice him, and I continue to look around. Is there any other thing I can see from where I am? Besides the droid?
Yeah, I mean, you can see that, let's see. You can see that, basically, like I said, the interior has been picked over and is devoid of anything you would perceive as useful. It looks like the emergency gear, food, equipment, and shelter are missing from their storage bins. One of the seats is blood-stained, and patches of oil dot the floor. Yeah, that's what you...
The droid that's pinned, he seems to have lost a little bit of the trailed off there. Is he still functional, at least in communication?
No, as he says what he says, he seems to have expended the last of his battery. He's been operating on standby. He hasn't been able to charge, so he's been operating on standby, basically with just a short range sensor waiting for movement within the pod.
Okay. All right, so I see nothing else. Is there any area I need yet to explore further?
No.
From where I am? Okay.
No.
All right, so I've seen what's in here, and I detect the blood on one of the seats. Can I detect if that blood was due, does it look like it was resulting from the crash?
It's hard to say. I mean, you'd presume so. Okay. Yeah, you would presume so. Given the way that the pod landed, and the fact that one of the droids is pinned under the wreckage. Yeah, it was a rough landing.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the escape pod and head back up. Captain, I'm coming back up. It's me.
Yep.
Tell Kadora to stand down with the clubs.
It's not him. Shoot him.
It's a trap.
He's been assimilated.
Yeah.
Who won the World Series last year?
They had a World Series last year? Damn. I'm sorry, I don't know that. I failed the password. Certainly not the Mets. Okay.
Who won the sports ball?
Yeah, right. I climbed back up and back out of the escape pod.
Okay.
Alrighty. Captain, there just seems to be one repair droid who's obviously been victim of the crash, but I did notice some blood in one of the seats. Could be possible from the landing. The place seems to be picked over, so whoever was in here obviously left. Obviously, also they had a camp on the ground and had been here at one point because they were bedrolls or some sort of. It looks like they had slept here at least for a period of time, if they used their bedrolls. Maybe Kadora was able to lead on where they may have traveled with their tracks, and if they were followed by these creatures,
The
or
tracks
maybe
seem to
taken
head.
away by them. That's another theory.
The tracks seem to head to the west toward that small like settlement or town that you saw.
Okay. Where the okay
On the map, it's labeled Cra, C-R-A-A.
Yeah. Sure. Were you able to determine number there, Kador? Rybax.
What was that? I'm sorry, you broke up.
How many were you able to determine? Basically, their numbers. I mean, some people walk, in single file.
That's true.
Do you want me to roll again for that?
Directly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to inspect to try to get a count, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm rolling again.
All right.
All right.
Oh shoot!
There were exactly 8 of them.
Okay.
7 to 8.
One of them has a limp.
Beads.
Nope,
Yes,
2 of
Captain.
them have limps.
Yeah, one of them has a hangnail.
Shove it on his finger, you can
Wow.
like he's spit off into the ground.
One of them was a female. You absolutely know everything. That's great. All right. So they head west, and we look west. What do we see? I mean, generally in that direction. Can you describe any significant land features? Do we see any smoke from settlements? Anything like that?
Probably Prague, right?
No, you saw lights. You saw some lights in that direction. And it seems to be kind of a settlement made of the same material as the general surrounding. It seems to be kind of, in essence, carved out of some of these stony outcroppings.
Captain, there's nothing else here, and the tracks lead off west. And as far as Rybax is able to detect, at least 8 of these, 7 or 8 of these aliens or indigenous life forms may have taken the crew with them. Should we proceed with caution? Okay.
With caution.
Aw, I put away my grenades.
They could be the new things. Do we know anything that's that would match this track?
So can I have just a clarification point? So we have this map that's very detailed. Is that jump core made?
It was made available when you pulled the logs off of the distant light. So they had mapped this region. Yeah. They were on an observation mission. Okay. And so they had mapped this area. They had not descended to the surface, but when they experienced the technical difficulties that they did, they were forced to. So they picked this area because it seemed like it would be the most acceptable, meaning it had access to water, it had access to forest, and they could, they were more likely to get a rescue here than in the dense jungle.
And this is their survey is of the world where we've been told to not interfere with the indigenous life.
Not necessarily not to interfere, but to use first contact protocol, which basically means don't kill anything, right? And assess the readiness of the civilization to, to accept kind of a larger scope of existence in the universe, right? So like if you think about what would happen today if just random aliens crash landed into New Jersey, right? Probably be kind of a strange
They wouldn't
scenario.
be noticed anywhere.
All right, maybe New Jersey's
Truly.
a bad example. Let's say Wyoming, okay?
I'm here.
All right. So but like civilization wise, there's kind of a dangerous point in civilization, right? To where, either you're too primitive, right? And then subsequently like barbaric, or you're too, you're advanced but not advanced enough to where you haven't kind of grown out of the self-destruction mentality. And so, so basically what Jump Corp tries to do is they try to find those civilizations that have just kind of gone past that self-destructive phase and are ready for, a larger existence. Additionally, they also try to find civilizations that have not yet hit a point of kind of mutual self-destruction, right? To where, those, like some of the races, like for example the Yeti, were relatively low tech, but yet were sufficiently civilized enough to accept their role in the larger universe.
Okay. Can we do one more thing? How far does the lights look from where we are, travel time?
It's about 5 hours away. Or 5 miles.
Okay.
Sorry, 5 miles. So,
Okay.
so I mean, it'll take you probably
About an hour.
Yeah, about an hour.
Captain.
Yep.
Your orders, sir.
Let's move to the city. Need to find our survivors. Hopefully, still alive. The civilization may or may not attack, so be on our guard. I know we're at first contact protocol, but I don't want to lose any
Prime
men,
directive.
to some
Yes, sir.
barbaric tribes.
Okay. We'll be on the alert.
Okay. So you make your way cautiously. So the winding trail is bounded on each side by towering near vertical rock formations. The rocks have a line of precisely painted abstract circular symbols. After turning a sharp corner, the trail opens up to a much wider area. About 100 feet ahead of you is a stone wall about 10 feet high with horizontal stripes mimicking the strata of the adjacent rocks. The trail leads to a narrow 12-foot ornamental gate flanked by unusual watchtowers. The right side has a single stone arch sitting atop the wall. The left side has two stacked arches. A creature hangs by four long limbs in each arch in front of a black circular disc almost as large as it is. And so let me show you what that creature looks like. Hang on.
Ooh.
Very sweet.
So it doesn't look like he's being restricted there. It looks like he's just like working out.
Hey, 4 arms, my people.
And 2 eyes.
Yeah. Skinny.
Do they seem the way the captain describes that they are of doing this of their free will?
It would appear so. Let's see. The creature is long and thin with 3 limbs per side. One set of limbs is stretched straight up above its body, holding onto a bar hanging from the top of the arch. A second set stretches to the right, out to each side, holding a similar bar. One set of limbs hangs straight down from its flat, long torso. Between its upper limbs, where you might expect a head, is instead a pair of long eye stalks. Each ends in a bright blue eye. One eye stalk constantly scans the area in front of it and behind the creature. The other is unmoving, staring at you intently. The creatures are clothed in yellow garments that shine brightly in the direct sunlight, and their skin is a light greenish, slightly scaly sheen.
But we just see the one creature?
Actually, you see a total of 3. So there are 3 of these arches. And each one of them has one of these creatures in it, and so you kind of see it. It sees you, and right now you're about 50 feet, maybe 70 feet away, and they're not doing anything. They're just kind of standing in these, in the same space.
basically call out, "Hello."
And so one of them yells back in response. It says, "Stop!"
All right. And I put my hand up to stop everybody. And I tap Rybax because he's in front of me.
That's the right spot for you, Captain.
So we stopped. We're looking for some people.
Hort?
Did you say Hort?
Hort?
Possibly, Captain. They are unacclimated to our language. We do want to let them know that we're here to rescue our friends. I think that's what we really want them to know. But maybe if one of us was to approach with open hands.
I can approach with some of my chicken liver, Captain.
Fud? Fud?
Okay.
I
He
think
seems
they
really
want the
good.
chicken liver, Captain.
Put my
It
hand
is an
up. I
offering.
don't
Food is a
understand you.
way to creatures. Maybe they may accept us for an offering.
It's possible.
And it
Survivors.
seems primitive.
Crash site.
Metal Sog?
Alright, it doesn't look like we're going to get through via communication. Sure, Rybax. Why don't you approach the
Fud?
food?
Fud?
I'm gonna approach in a
Slowly.
Yep, slowly, cautiously, bent over with food in my big gauntlets. And I'll eat a little bit to show what it is.
Here, Fud, here.
All right, so I offer him the food.
And he reaches down and picks it up, and he's got a mouth, but it's kind of built into his neck. And so he takes a hand and he picks up the food, and he puts it into his mouth, and begins choking, or not choking, but he begins chewing. he begins chewing.
Killed one already.
And he says to you, he says, "Weirter? Weirter?"
Water.
Waiter?
I imagine I have a canteen.
Yeah.
I'll offer it to him with some water.
We can just spit into our cupped hands too.
Here, go. Here, goo, here. Weirter.
Right, water. And I give it, and I pour out a little bit and then hand it to him so he knows what it is.
All right, he takes it and he drinks of it quickly, and he he passes it back to you. He says, "Stop, stop," and then he looks to one of the other ones and he says something in their native language, and it climbs down from its perch, and it goes it disappears behind the perch. And you see it kind of scurry away. And he looks back at you and he says, "Metal Sog?"
We could use beatbox on a mission like this.
Yeah.
Metal Sog?
No, it's cooked. The meat's cooked. It's not all soggy.
No. I think he's seeing if
Stop.
we're friendly.
Metal Sog.
Metal.
Metal slug?
He's gonna have. He's telling his leader, I think, by letting them know. Me tell Sog. Sog may be their leader.
Oh.
Me tell Sog. Is that what you're saying?
I
Yeah.
think so.
And I point at him and I say, "You tell Sog?"
Stop.
Mm-mm.
Metal Sog. And he kind of points in a different direction.
Which direction? And what do we see with that he's pointing besides? And what is there?
He's pointing kind of. It's beyond like one of the hilly outcroppings. He points back in that direction, but you can't see the between the rocks and everything. You can't see what's beyond. But yeah, he just points in that direction. He says, "Metal Sog."
Yeah. Oh, I think this other guy went to go get someone, so I say we'll give him 30 minutes, and if no one comes, then we proceed forward.
If I was to trace a line from where he was pointing it, would it eventually point towards the crash site?
No, it's
Okay.
in the other direction. It's
Okay.
like further into the town. So after a minute or two, a group of these creatures comes. So there's about 13 of them, 12 plus the one that ran off, and one of them, kind of looks at you and he kind of motions to you with an arm, and he says, "Hair."
Oh, the Yeti.
We come moving forward. The Yeti.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's motioning us closer to him. Or
Goo.
to them.
Goo. Hair.
I'll move forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll join Ryback's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so as we approach, do we see them becoming agitated?
No, they don't seem to be agitated.
Okay.
They seem to want to lead you somewhere. I mean, that's the impression that you get.
Gotcha.
I'll let them lead me.
Well, we shouldn't split the party, but
Hey, give them some more of that food.
I'll offer all of it. I love to
Yeah,
see
all
people
of
eat
it.
my food.
Like not a single drop left. Just show our
Yeah.
gratitude.
Fod.
generosity.
Here, Fod. Here, Fod.
We'll save some. Hold on.
Weirter.
Don't give them all the Rybacks.
I give them my
Fod.
canteen.
Yeah, we may
So-
need some more of that magic food you have.
Fod.
All right. So, Captain, maybe we should follow them.
Hey, we're fine.
All right. I'll lead. Rybex, you're behind me. Keep an eye on. And, Captain, you should stay behind Rybex. Kadora, where do you want to stand with these not too distant cousins of yours?
I'll take a position sort of behind Ryback as well.
Vanguard. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. What? All right. Lead us on.
Okay, so you
With my hand to gesture.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the path, so there's a well-worn path that winds from the gate through the town. You pass tall 2 or 3 story stone buildings and caves, what look like simple shops and storage buildings. The arches with black discs are repeated on most buildings. So some of these arches are expertly carved with deep black disc, while others are utilitarian or look worn and scratched. They're all currently empty, though. There are no kind of creatures standing in them. The walk through the town takes about 5 minutes, and you don't see any other of these creatures on the streets. So it's kind of eerily quiet as you walk through town. And as you get close, there's a clearing, and you arrive at kind of the center the center of the town, and one of them says to you, Luru, and points out in the direction of the center of town. You arrive at a wide circular plaza encircled by 3 buildings with occupied arch discs. The plaza is jammed with hundreds of the alien creatures. They are all quiet and focused on activity at the center of the plaza. A few of them look at you with wonder, then return their attention to the center. You all see a 10-foot tall dais with a 12-foot high conical metal structure. It's clearly much higher technology than anything you've seen on this world so far. The structure sits on 5 short legs, equally spaced around its base. Its metal exterior is weathered and pitted. One side is dented, and it looks like it once caught fire. The cone is dotted with shallow metal and glass domes and topped with vertical metal rods. At the base, you see several open panels. It appears that 2 humans are leaning into one of the openings with their heads and hands inside fiddling with something. An ornately dressed creature, jailer, stands by, watching closely. So these creatures are called jailers. Jailers, Jalur, is the name of the species.
Okay. Those humans with their heads and hands inside fiddling with something.
They seem to
Can
be
we
wearing
detect-
Jump Corp uniforms.
I was gonna say, well, they be wearing standard Jump Corps uniforms.
Yep.
And
Can we tell? Does it seem like they're under duress from here?
Go ahead and give me an investigation roll.
hold on. No, I can't help you.
Alternatively, you can give me Streetwise or
Oh, I can try and help with that, Captain.
yeah, Streetwise or Common Knowledge.
Okay, I have Streetwise, but I have the +4 because of charisma. I'm working with someone, so I'm
Yep,
assuming I
yep.
Oh, okay. Oh well, I'll just let Rybax handle it because he sells spaghetti.
Yeah.
These people understand good food.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be under duress. They seem to be occupied with whatever they're doing, and there doesn't seem to be, there's no, it's not like they're being held like with weapons or anything. They seem to be doing this kind of, out of free will, I guess.
Okay.
Can
We'll continue forward.
can we call out to them? Do we recall their names? You may have read that to us in the beginning.
Yes.
May or may
So
not.
the captain is Stefan Wu.
Stefan Wu, that
and
was
the first mate is Janet James.
Janet James and Stefan Wu. Okay. Stefan and Janet, is that you?
They don't seem to hear you because they're kind of inside. They're like inside the thing. They don't seem to hear you. You think maybe if you got a little bit closer, maybe you'd be able to get their attention. So from where you stand now, you're kind of, you kind of just entered the square. You see this scene, where they're working on this this metal device, and there are a bunch of these creatures kind of standing around. They're not talking, but there's a lot of noise going on as they kind of bang and work inside the device.
All right.
So did you guys want to move forward?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so as you move closer, suddenly the glass globes on the structure light up and flash with brilliant colors. The crowd yells and hoots in excitement. You're unsure of what it means until you see the humans celebrating on the dais. Several panels slide open above the humans. The crowd goes quiet. Abruptly, 2 metal tentacles shoot out from the open panels, grab the humans and their gear, and pull them inside. All of the panels slam shut, and the structure launches straight up without an obvious engine blast. It rapidly clears the cliffs above and disappears to the north. The crowd starts yelling in shock, fear, and rage. Those who notice you turn angrily in your direction.
What the?
Captain, get behind me.
I'm behind. They're
So-
all around us, though. Which
Yeah,
way?
so with that, the crowd kind of descends upon you, and then they've got scowls, and a couple of them say, "Stop! You go! You hoot! Back!"
All right.
Start
we back
backing
up.
up.
Yeah, we start backing up. What direction? North? I'm
And
sorry,
they
Mr.
kind of close in behind you, and encircle you.
Anyway.
Do we see any weapons?
No, they don't seem to be carrying any weapons. However, they do have kind of like claws on all of their hands. And so you think that with the number of hands they have and each one of them having claws, they'd be pretty worthy adversaries in just hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
One of them says to you, "Tak Clow, Tak Clow."
Attack clouds. I throw a grenade straight up. No.
And so another one approaches and says, it appears to be a female, and she's wearing like more ornate robes, and she points with one of her hands to the second floor, the second story of a building, and when she points, she goes, "Go, Clowl."
Okay. So she's pointing us toward a building and telling us to go.
Yeah.
All right. I will start slowly walking that direction and kind of,
the Jalur all kind of walk you to it, and you make your way, and there's kind of larger than normal steps leading up to this area, and there's a large kind of stone door that is slightly open, and you can see some lights inside. And she says, "Go."
Okay.
And so you come to the door, and she just keeps repeating, "Go, go."
Does the door open?
It does.
All right.
So you look inside, and there is what would be considered extravagant for this area, a kind of seating room. It's well appointed. There are fire sconces, and there is what look like carved seats around the perimeter of this room. And then at the front of the room, there's a small stone dais, and a series of carved stone chairs.
Okay. And no one's in here? It's empty?
No, but as the door opens up and you guys move inside, a bunch of the Jalal come from the other side, and begin to populate the chairs around the outside, and the woman who is telling you to come up here points to the carved chairs in the front, of which there are 5. And she says, "Go. Seat."
Okay.
She wants us to sit.
It seems that way.
Will the chair fit a being of my size?
It'll be a tight fit, but yeah, you'll be able to squeeze in there. You get a cheek and a half.
All right, I'll sit down.
They're actually going to charge you for 2 seats.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll sit down.
All right, the rest of you guys sit down.
Can I sit down on the dais?
You can try.
Diplomacy.
Okay. Fine, I'll sit down on one of the chairs.
Okay, so
I want to remain standing. I'm going to say I'm Captain Malik with Jump Corps. Who am I addressing? To the woman.
And so the woman kind of, once you guys are up on the dais, she kind of backs away. And when she backs away, she goes to a small door in the rear of the room, and she bangs on the door. and you hear an exchange of some kind in the Jalur native language, you presume. Um, and she kind of stands to the side of the door, and the door opens up, and out comes a very ornately dressed female, um, followed with a long, like flowing kind of robe that is actually held up by another pair of these creatures as she walks out into the main area. Her neck and her arms are all adorned with like metal bands, right? And and basically, she approaches, and the two that are carrying her robe set it down and back away. Um, and she looks at you and she says, "You Otherworlders, honored prisoner, gust stay, say more, come see for thy tack back to far home, the tack mechanical sage from Kalal and Kra. You now prisoner, gust of Jalur of Kra. Honored visitors in Sad Halu of Klal. Welcome, house. Yoo-hoo."
It means they intend to take us prisoner, fellas. Let me digest this 1 second.
I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
Honored
Be free,
visitors in Sad Hall of Claw. You now prisoner guests of Jar of Croft. Honored visitors in Sad Hall of Claw. Welcome house. You.
And then she repeats, "Yoo-hoo."
Yeah, she's asking who we are. You other
I'm
worlders,
Captain
honored
Malik of
prisoners,
Jokor.
honored prisoner guests. Say more. Come see for thy.
Yeah.
Tack back to far home. Okay, so they want to take back to. Okay, so the honored prisoner guests, prisoner, and you may assume they're prisoner, but honored prisoner guests. Say more. Come for thee. So the guests that the two. Okay, these two people that were abducted obviously are Dr. Wu and Janet. Okay, they were honored prisoner guests, and they said that more would come for them. They take back to far home. They take mechanical sage from Klal and Kra. You now prisoner guests of Jalor of Kra, the honored visitors in Sad Hall of Klal, which may be the house of Klal. Welcome house. You who? So who are we?
Yeah.
We will tell her that we are those. We are honored.
I'm just gonna say I'm
more
Captain
come
Malik
for thee.
of
We
Jokor.
came for honored prisoner. Guess.
Okay. So are you going to try to persuade them that you are there to rescue the other people, or how do you want to explain it? You get the impression that she understands more than she can speak.
Right, I get you. Yeah, okay, cool. Captain, I'm relaying this to my captain. I'm not speaking to this group of people. I'm communicating to my captain that I believe this is what that they thought these, because they allowed them to work on something very sacred to their.
Yeah, the mechanical stage.
Mm-hmm. So with that, they were informed by our Dr. Wu and Janet that we might be coming. We should let them know that's who we are, and at least see where it rolls from there.
Well, they took them prisoner.
They didn't seem like they were in.
Gonna harm them, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and they're low tech. Let's pan out. We may still be able to break free if we need to. I mean, we're armed and they don't know much. So.
Right.
Okay.
I'm Captain Malik of of Jump Corps. Me and my crew came to rescue survivors. I do not know what just happened, but those men were the survivors that we came to rescue. I assume this mechanical sage is what they were fixing, but I do not know anything of that. And would appreciate any assistance that you can provide to help us find them and this mechanical sage.
I think the mechanical sage was our friends.
It sounds like the mechanical sage just crashed in somebody's living room.
Yeah.
Rybax, go fix it.
All right, so she looks at you and she says, where mechanical sage? And she kind of arches her shoulders and extends her arms.
I do not know where the mechanical sage is,
We're looking to find them, Captain.
but I
Back.
want to find them.
Come back, mechanical sage.
Yes.
We can help them find the mechanical sage, Captain. I think if we can
Apparently it's
convince them,
coming back.
yeah.
So-
if we can convince them, that's what we're looking to do, and bring the mechanical sage back.
Yeah.
They may
Yes,
understand what we're trying. Yes, sir. I think that mechanical sage
The
was.
mechanical sage is where our colleagues are, so we are looking for the mechanical sage, and if we find it, we will bring it back, as long as we are allowed to take our colleagues with us.
So she says, "Ooh, ka," and she reaches her hand out and she gestures to one of the guards, and in rolls a metal cage, and inside the metal cage is a robot, and you recognize this robot as S331. And S331 shows minor damage from the crash. She points to it and she says, "Metal monster."
Not a monster.
No,
Friend.
no.
Right.
And S331 kind of speaks at this point and says, "My power source is very low. I am operating on my final reserves."
Copy S321. Preserve it. I'm from Jump Corps, Captain Malik. Crew of the Lunacy. No big deal. You may have heard of us.
It is nice to meet you, Captain. These Jalar are not hostile unless provoked. However, there is another hostile species on this planet that you should be aware of. And
We
he
need
just
to get
kind
our
of
power supply.
he kind of pauses briefly, and then you see there's like a quick glitch, and he kind of I must return to standby. And then you just hear like a, as he kind of goes into standby mode.
Can I reroute the power somehow?
Well, you can just charge him, right? So like, you would be able to charge him if you could get him back to your ship.
Gotcha. What should I address you as?
Are you speaking to her?
Jalor.
Me Klal. Klal of Jolor.
Claw of Jalor.
Klal Jalor of Kra.
Claw Jalor of Kra.
Yeah, so Klal is the name, Jalor is the species, and the name of the town is
That
Kra.
makes sense.
Yep.
They're like rival towns here somehow or whatever.
My very nice friend, SS331 here, has informed me that you have been very hospitable, yet there is another race that is not. If you would allow me to take my friend and repair him back, we might be able to assist each other, because I need to know where my two colleagues went with that device.
The Sage.
Just lift it off. So maybe we could work together, an alliance.
Friends.
I like it.
Friends.
Food. Friends.
Friends.
Fud. Friend. Metal Sage. Return. Friend.
Friend.
Friendo.
We will return
Friend.
the little sage. But first we need to find it. And for that, I need his help. SS3 or S331.
Metal Monster.
No monster. No monster.
He's friendly.
You take Metal
We take.
Monster.
If that's what you want.
Yeah.
And if it would make you feel better, we'll leave him in the cage until we were far outside of your city.
You return one cycle sun.
Okay. Basically, they want us back
And
in a day.
Do we know from the survey what a cycle sun would be in this area?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Sister, what is the
18,
cycle
24-hour days.
Yeah, days here. Given the orbit, it'd probably be about 18 hours.
Oh, okay. It's an hour back
That's still
to
enough time.
near our, yeah, it's about,
Okay.
This is
it's-
Pranac 4, which is approximately just a little less than the same distance from the sun as Earth. So as a
92
result, the
million miles.
days are a little bit shorter, but not excessively shorter.
It's based
I'm
on
gonna-
rotation, but so we're about 92 million miles out on a fast rotation. All right.
I would like to pull out my binoculars
Okay.
and say, gift. And I kind of show what I'm doing, and then I hand them over.
And you see
Exchange
this.
for metal monster.
Yeah, the Kalal takes the binoculars, and you see the eyes, the eye stalks, like desperately trying to align on the binoculars, until ultimately one of them just gives up, and then the other one like just
Uses the monocle.
yeah, and kind of looks around and like turns to one of the other Jalal or Jalar, and just drops him real quick because the thing it sees is just huge, right? And
Yep.
it says bog, big bog, big, like arms way out, right? Big.
This device allows you to see much farther distances.
Is help.
Yeah, there's help coming.
Tank.
Yeah.
Tank.
You're welcome.
And
so I motion to the metal monster and be like, may I?
tank.
All right.
We should get out of the way. There might be a tank coming.
Yeah.
Like I dive into the road. Like I'm not taking it.
Is the cage like on wheels? Can we roll it? Because I'm gonna motion to the cage and start moving it out.
Okay. Yeah. And so. As S 331. So let me just go ahead and give you access to S331 for now. There you go. So S331, it is in decent condition, but definitely needs power.
may I interject for a second? In
Yeah.
my inventory, I'm just looking for things, and I see I have 2 batteries. I don't know. I bought them early on. Do they in any way help S331, or is that something we need to jack
Uh,
into the system for charging it?
no. Yeah, he'd have to get
Okay, no
charged
problem.
from the ship's
Yeah,
power. Yeah.
yeah, I get it. I sensed it. Okay, just to continue. I'm sorry for that interruption.
Sure. No. It's okay. So, so basically,
Good shape.
the she says to you, metal sage, hort, molil, molil.
Uh-oh. Is there someone injured you need us to take a look at?
Mechanical sage, hort, molil.
All right, Malil must be a name for one of them. And apparently this robot may have injured them. That's what I'm getting, Captain.
New, molil,
No?
hort, mechanical sage.
Or,
Molil, hort, mechanical sage. The other worlder, fis, mechanical sage.
ah,
Molil, hort.
okay. Malil broke it. Okay.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, we got to get them
Bad,
in that kind of
bad,
sage.
bad molil, bad.
All right, the Molil seems to be their enemy.
Danger, molil.
Oh, well, we're more dangerous.
Well, yes, that's true.
And the most dangerous.
Yes, we are.
All
right.
One soon cycle. Turn.
So the Malil hurt them.
Malil hort metal sage. Or mechanical sage.
So the
Malil
mechanical sage.
noon hurt Jular stung, and she puts up her arms like this. Stung. Mechanical sage, no stung, is book.
Huh.
Book? Huh.
So basically, I mean, here's the gist of what you're getting. Okay, so you're getting that she's telling you you can take the robot, come back tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay, yeah.
she's telling you that there's another kind of creature in this region called the Molil who broke the mechanical sage, which is why they asked the other Jump Corp people when they crash landed to come and fix it.
Okay.
And when they fixed it, apparently they did something which caused it to respond, grab them, and fly away. So that's what you saw. But she's basically saying you can take the robot, but you have to come back tomorrow and help them find the mechanical sage.
Okay. That kind of gets clarity for me.
I will do whatever the captain tells me to do.
Captain.
So she motions to another kind of member of the tribe, and she says, "Priton, guide Great. And so she's offering, from what you can infer, she's offering to send you with a guide by the name of Prighton, who will help you basically be safe from the Mauliel overnight.
Okay.
So I will give you Prighton. So I just shared Prighton with you. And then let me drop S331 in the combat tracker as well, because you guys have access to them. So there we go.
Okay. Cool.
All right. And so then she just reminds you, one sun, and you turn.
Okay.
So is there anything else you guys want to do before you head out?
There's no nearby water source, is there?
There is, but it's a bit of a walk, right? So it'd probably be. I mean, you got plenty of water on your ship.
Yeah.
But
we went back to the ship?
Yes, you would have to go back to your ship to charge S331.
Okay. I'm good then.
And then you also know that S331 is a science and kind of survival robot. So exploration and science. So he would be very helpful. He's ruggedized with survival programming. So he's he would be very helpful. So you guys want to make your way back to your ship?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
let's do that
Captain?
first.
Yeah, Captain says yeah.
Okay. All right. So so we're actually so you guys make your way back, and you and Prighton, who's the one that was sent with you, kind of helps you to navigate back to your ship. And he helps you to kind of find your way back without really encountering any major difficulty. And you guys make it back to your ship successfully. And you put S331 on the charge. It's going to take several hours for him to get fully charged. But what else do you guys want to do? It's it's getting later in the evening at this point.
We could stay here, let the robot charge, and see what extra information we can glean out of him.
Okay. Out of the robot?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
there's
So
information.
after he's on the charge, I mean, he can go back to kind of normal operation, and he tells you, he says that they crash landed, as you guys know. They were approached by a group of 8 of these Jalar creatures, who didn't understand the language, but after kind of fighting through some rough language, they were invited back to the village, but that their counterpart, what was his name? Sorry.
The other robot?
The other robot was left.
S8, G8, grade 8.
Yeah, grade 8 was left to guard the pod. E847, there he is, was left to guard the pod, and he asks if you saw him.
We did.
And was he okay?
He needs to be recharged.
Repaired.
He was trapped. We could not free him. So he volunteered to protect the shuttle, the pod, the escape pod, while we went to this village with these creatures. We had fully intended to come back and get him, but I imagine at this point his battery is depleted. Were you able to remove him from the vessel?
Negative.
We will need to do that. Although he is obnoxious at times, I would be amiss if I were to leave him behind. We do not do that in Jump Corp. He says, what I was mentioning before I was taken, or before I had to return to battery, or into standby mode, was there is another race of creatures here, an offshoot to the Jalar, that are known as the Milol, that the Molil, that are much more savage, and they raid the villages here in the Rolwan region. They live primarily in the forests, but they make actually, let me just do this real quick because we're not on the planet anymore. Let's see. They raid the villages. They're a very primal version of the Jalar, who attack and take basically what they want. They don't have the ability, or they haven't developed the ability to create towns and villages like the other Jalar. And so they operate in a very nomadic and violent culture. So,
could you describe the weapons and what they look like?
yes. Let's see. So they have crude axes and spears, and daggers made of this sharp stone. However, with all of those hands, they are quite proficient in the melee arts.
All right. Now, is our ship down here on the planet surface? That's like the full ship.
Yeah, no, you landed on the planet, so you have everything.
Just making sure we have a little shuttle. All right, cool. What I'm thinking is the ship has guns, and if they start raiding in, we don't even have to kill them. But I'm thinking we can make an impressive show if they try to raid, to deter them from attacking the Jalar, and ideally not even killing any of them, since the whole first contact thing. But yeah, we'll think about that. What about this guy that's with us?
So S331 actually speaks quite a bit of their language. He's picked it up in the time that he's been around them.
Oh, thank heaven.
And so he speaks to Preton, and he says to Preton, well, they have an exchange, and he comes back and he says, Preton is a hunter, and a guide, and he was told by Chloe to bring you guys back to Kra tomorrow, but then also to help you to find where the metal sage or the mechanical sage may have gone. Now, what you saw it kind of take off and kind of crest the hills, but and then disappear. But it didn't head straight. It didn't leave the atmosphere, so it's still here in the region somewhere.
It went north. That's all I read.
But yeah, so basically, Preton says that, you know, the other, so Kra is the only village that's encountered the other worlders, and so they may not be as friendly. And then if any of them are Milal, that, you know, that they may just attack you on sight. So you have to be very careful. But he should be able to help you to guide you to any of the areas that you want to go.
Thanks, S331, for doing that for us. You're the best robot we've ever had.
Yeah. He says, well, you're welcome. Speaking of which, where is your synthetic?
What's synthetic?
Well, typically a crew like this is equipped with at least one synthetic humanoid.
He's being repaired. He's not synthetic, though. We just have a cyborg.
So just to put it in perspective, right? S331 is very like human-like. Actually, he's more like C3PO, I guess, than
protocol.
But yeah, he's more like he's exploration and science. So he's tall, stout, and humanoid, though he's clearly robotic. But I imagine him kind of like a less advanced version of David from the Aliens franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Right? To where he is too smart for his own good, right? And so yeah. So he says, well, where is your synthetic?
We don't have a synthetic.
We sold it for parts.
Well, that's unfortunate. I will have to speak with Jump Corp to see if we can get you a new one issued. Because everyone knows that a synthetic is far superior to the normal humanoids.
We got one that can sing in tune.
I will see what I can do. So with that, we're any other questions you want to ask S331?
Is there any way we can free the other G8, grade 8? He seemed to be very well, unfortunately, stuck in the ship.
So you get the sense that, considering how stuck he is, you're going to need like power tools and time. So you're basically going to have to cut him out.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
based on time and tools, do we have the tools on the ship, and how much time do you think that might take, guesstimation?
Take a couple hours, and yes, you absolutely have the tools on the ship.
Well, we can fly this thing a little closer.
We might be able to make an attempt to get that other robot out and bring a charge cell with us.
Yep. Yeah, I'm fine. Let's go back to the crash site. Let's try to get a little closer to the crash site.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Basically just go and cut the grade 8 out.
I think, yeah.
So actually,
asking S31, does that, okay, go ahead. You were saying actually.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, we're right up against it. We're gonna be wrapping the session, but
sure.
Just wanted to give you guys, an opportunity to ask S331 anything before we wrap up. But yeah,
I have questions, but
sure.
Go ahead, Captain. Do you have any questions of this?
Yeah. Could you identify what they are referring to as the mechanical sage? What type of device is that?
Thank you. That was the question.
Some sort of defensive armaments.
So when we arrived, the mechanical sage was disabled. It was disabled in an attack of some sort. We were asked to repair it, but I was taken prisoner and put into a cage, and considering the volume of power I had remaining, I could not object. Did you observe what happened with the mechanical sage?
Well, apparently Stefan and Janet fixed it, air quotes, and the mechanical sage opened up a hatch and grabbed them, pulled them inside, and lifted off.
Oh dear! Oh, that is terrible.
Exactly. Yeah, it's horrible.
We will most certainly have to recover them. Did you see the direction in which it headed?
North, and I'd like obviously to scan the surface to see if we could find a said mechanical sage.
Yeah, is there a way we can get a bead on him?
Any IR signatures?
You can.
Can we just teleport them on board our ship?
No, there's no.
Beam them up. Beep, beep, beep. Wait, you could do this the whole time?
Yeah, right. No, there is no beaming. No beaming. So because you don't really have you don't have a signature. There's no you've never encountered this thing before, so it's not like it's something that would be would have some identifying feature, right? It's going to be difficult, but S331 offers to try to recalibrate the sensors to see if we can get a direction.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, it does not emit any kind of radio frequency that can be interpreted on the normal spectrums.
Yep. Looking for plumes, looking for just metal objects out in the forest, crash sites, heat signatures from a crash, or boosters, all that stuff. So yep. Get on that S331, and we're gonna try to go save your grade 8. That's inferior, humans. Save another one of your kind.
Very well. It will take me several hours. You biologicals may wish to get some rest in the interim.
All right. Well,
Fair enough.
that's good.
Yeah.
So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up for the night. So thank you everybody for joining us. I really appreciate it. Just a reminder to anybody who's stopping in for the first time, we are here on Sunday nights from 6 Central to 9 Central, or 7 East to 10 East. Feel free to catch us, any one of those days. Most of the time, we're going to be playing this. Every once in a while, for one reason or another, we might, do a one-shot or run a special episode like we did last week. We actually ran the War of the Dead setting, so we'll probably get back to that at some point. But again, really appreciate everybody stopping by. If you missed any part of this or missed any previous episodes, feel free to jump to the videos. All of our previous episodes are in there. And then you can also catch us on our YouTube channel. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. And we will see you all next time.